Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Facebook people. Good morning, all of you. Thank you for being here this beautiful Sunday morning. Let's start this morning with a little bit of spiritual humor. There, I like that. There was a priest, a rabbi, and an atheist, and they're all on a boat, and they're fishing. And all of a sudden, the priest goes, "Oh my God, I forgot my lures." And he hops out of the boat, he walks right across the water, ends up on the land, picks up his lures, walks back, hops back into the boat. The atheist is like a little shocked and amazed. Then the next thing you know, the rabbi, he goes, "Oh, I forgot my lures." Or did I say that? "I forgot my lures." And so he hops out of the boat, walks across the water, gets it, comes back in. Well, the atheist is a little bit, but he doesn't want to be outdone by these guys, and he doesn't really believe in all this divine stuff. So he goes, "Oh, I forgot my other rod." He hops out of the boat, gets on the water, and then what happens? Sinks right to the bottom of the water. The priest and the rabbi look at each other and they go, "Maybe we should have considered telling him where those rocks were." So today we're going to be talking a little bit about rocks. Rocks can mean many things, can't they? They can be physical rocks. I have a rock here. They can be metaphors for many things. And today they are going to be a metaphor. Now, lots of times I like to use tangible things to represent intangible ideas. And so this rock is going to be our negative thoughts that we carry around. And let me get something else. Hope you can see this. Can everyone see this? This is a big bowl with rocks, okay? So if we think of this big bowl as our mind, and we think of all of those rocks as negative thoughts, what happens when we fill our mind with negative thoughts? That's all that's in there. Facebook guys, put it in the comment line. What do you think happens when you have a lot of negative thoughts? What do we say in Unity? You have negative experiences that happen, right? So if we fill our mind up with negative thoughts, these negative rocks, we end up with negative experiences. Now what happens though when we change those? When we look for the gold in our rocks, when we look for the sparkle, we put affirmative prayers into the rock, okay? Then have you found that your life changes? Yes, yeah. What is affirmative prayer? What is affirmative prayer to you? Affirmative prayer. It is seeing the truth of who you are. It's seeing that you are whole, that you are of health, that you have an abundant life. And once we see that, that is an affirmative prayer. We do not change we're not trying to change God's mind. What are we doing? We are changing our consciousness. We are changing our consciousness, aren't we? By putting affirmative prayers, by finding the gold in those negative experiences. So where you see lack, you are going to start seeing abundance, right? You're going to change those thoughts into affirmative prayers. That is what affirmative praying is changing your thoughts to see who you are. Where you have relationship problems, you're going to see peace and serenity. Where you're having ill health, you're going to remember and think of those times that it was wholeness and healing. Now, how many of you have had situations where you've had experiences that don't seem to serve you? And you do have affirmative prayers, right? And your life, you start experiencing positive things, the things that you want to be in your life. And then, have you ever had situations, though, where it starts going negative again? It starts going negative again. Raise your hand if you've ever had that experience. Yeah. What's that about? What's that about? So if we take our mind, again, this is our mind, can we fill our mind with anything else? Yeah. We can fill our mind with what? Small thoughts, small pebbles, small. And what happens when we fill our mind with a lot of these? We have a bowl filled with a lot of small thoughts. How often do you have those small thoughts that may not serve you? They're sort of fleeting. Oh, I'll never get well. Or I heard from my friend's friend that she never got healed of that. Or I will never be able to pay the bills. Or they're just those fleeting thoughts, very small, that come across. And it's almost hard to catch them, okay? And then, but if you catch them, what can you do? What can you do with those? You can have another thought. You can say, I give no power over that little negative thought. And I'm going to affirm my highest good. I'm going to see a different picture. I'm going to have a different affirmative prayer. Because you know, at the end of the day, small things can make a big difference, can't they? Small things can make a big difference. I want to show you a video now. And this video is from Greg Braden. Greg Braden is a 5-time bestseller author. And what this video is literally this woman has almost a rock in her stomach. She has a tumor. And this video is going to show you in real time how this tumor went away. So let's go ahead and start it.
So any discussion regarding this feeling-based prayer, this lost mode of prayer, sometimes seems a little more than academic until we can actually apply it in our lives or see it applied in our lives. It's in the late 1990s that I had the opportunity to do precisely that. When I saw the footage documenting the healing of a life-threatening condition within the body of a living woman using precisely the kinds of techniques that we're speaking about right now. For me, it was this kind of information that took this lost modality of prayer out of the realm of academics and into something that's very real that we can apply in our lives. I had the opportunity during that time to see some video footage of the healing of a 3-inch diameter bladder cancer inside the body of a woman who, by Western medical standards, had been diagnosed inoperable. She had gone, as a last resort, to a medicineless hospital in Beijing, China. It was in this medicineless hospital where they began simply by addressing the life-affirming ways that she could change how she was living her life. They taught her life-affirming ways to breathe and life-affirming ways to nourish her body, gentle movements to stimulate the energy centers in her body. And as she was doing these and strengthening her body, at one point it made sense to undergo a process. Now I'd like to share this. I'd like to describe it to you as a very potent example of how the feeling world inside of our bodies has a direct effect, in this case a very graphic effect, on the world beyond our bodies. So in the video documentation, the film shows a woman lying on in a hospital room. She's fully awake, she's fully conscious, she believes in the process that's about to happen. Before her, there is an ultrasound technician who is running an ultrasound wand over her lower abdomen that we can see on a split-screen television. And on the left-hand side of the screen, they do a snapshot, a freeze frame of an instant in time for reference.
That's a tumor.
So we can see what her condition looked like in that instant in time. On the right-hand side of the screen, we are able to watch real time as 3 practitioners stand behind her, working with the energy in her body and with the feelings in their bodies. And what they do is they begin to chant a word that to them they've agreed upon. that reinforces the feeling within them that she's already healed. The chant essentially says already healed, already done. And as they begin to have this feeling and to say these words among themselves, on the computer screen, on the television screen, we can watch in real time this cancerous tumor as it disappears in less than 3 minutes real time. It's not like time-lapse on a documentary where you see a rose unfold in 30 seconds in something that normally takes days. This literally happens in less than 3 minutes. Her body responded to the feelings of the practitioners who were trained to have the kinds of feelings that they were having. And all they were feeling.
Isn't that? Yeah. And so that is something that is really happening, though. So sometimes we watch things on TV or we see things, but we don't really, it doesn't really resonate that it is occurring, that there was that healing of this tumor in less than 3 minutes. Now, with this woman, though, she had been at this hospital that didn't have any medicine, okay, for a few weeks. And so I'm going to talk about how I think that she did this. And so if we go back to our rocks, I think that she, first of all, had to change those big rocks, really, believing that she could be healed of this, that she was healed. And then every time she had those small thoughts, she had to change those, truly, truly, to believe that she could be healed. Now here's a question, though. Does our mind have any more room? Does it have anything that I can still put in it? Yes. We have the feeling mode of prayer. We can call this maybe holy water, okay? Because it has the essence of when we pour this over our large affirmative prayers and our small affirmative prayers and our very body, our very soul, that is the feeling mode of prayer. That is the feeling mode of prayer. And that seeps into our conscious and our unconscious level. It is just every part of us. Now, what does that look like in real life? Two ways I find that it looks like. There may be many, many other ways, but two ways I find it. Have you ever had affirmative prayers and you've prayed and you sort of forgot about it? And then a week, a month, a year later, your affirmative prayer is manifested. Have any of you ever had that? That is when it's in the feeling mode. You have just let go. And then the other area, when you're pouring it over your conscious and your subconscious level, is when you affirmatively pray and then you know in your heart, you let go, and you go, I know my highest good is going to occur. I may not know how it looks like, but I know in the very cells of my body that my highest good is going to occur. That is the feeling mode. And so what it takes is changing those big rocks, doing it every day, changing those little rocks, changing them into affirmative prayer. And then it seeps into knowing who you are and the health, the wholeness, and the abundance. I want to tell you one more story. And it's 1957. And there are a group of monks in Tibet. This is a true story. And they had been taking care of this statue of Buddha. And they needed to move this statue of Buddha with a large crane. And that day they had moved it, but they didn't quite finish it. And so it was the evening time, and one of the monks was just looking at the statue, and all of a sudden he sees something at the bottom of the statue. So he walks over, and he looks, and there's just a little sparkle of gold in there. And so he sort of chips away. We'll come to find out that this entire 5-foot statue was made of gold. And in previous years, they had covered it with this dirt that had created a rock-type formation just so that the thieves wouldn't come and steal it. So can any of you guess what this might be a metaphor for? Who are you? What is your essence? Who are you? You are the gold. You are. Now I like for my talks to be living relevant spirituality now. So I want to ask you to do something to live relevant spirituality now. And that is, tonight, before you go to bed, I want you to think about all the different ways that you enriched the world, that you made a difference to the world, that you brought some love into the world. And what that might look like is just smiling at a neighbor. It might look like acknowledging that grocery store person by their first name and looking at them in the eye. And maybe that might be the first time that day someone has really seen them. It might be telling a story to a child. It might be planting flowers. It might be you fill in the blanks. But I want you tonight, before you go to bed, to think about all of the wonderful things that you have done to enrich the world. It is just your essence. When you walk with that essence of your higher self, you are enriching the world. And then, tomorrow morning, as you wake up, before you get out of bed, I want you to picture in your mind's eye someone, something that you love dearly. You love. It may be your children. It may be your pet. It may be your friend, your nephew, your spouse, your partner, someone that you really love. So do that before you hop out of bed. And then take that moment and love yourself. Love yourself with all of that love. All of that love. Because that is living relevant spirituality now. Because that is what relevant spirituality is. It is being our highest self. It is being the loving person. We are the expression of Christ walking here and now. And so as you give out the love yourself, you are enriching the world. You are loving. You are making a difference. You are transforming the very atoms of the world, because small things make a big difference. And so, who's going to try that with me? Who's going to try that? Okay, I've got you guys. Hey, I have someone writing your names down. I'm going to check with you. Let's give that a week. Let's give that a week and see what happens. So that's the best part of being a minister and making up talks, that I have to actually do them. And, you know, that is the biggest thing about unity. Our principles work. Affirmative prayer works. And the most important thing is the truth principle of who you are. So I want to just end this with knowing again who you are. You are the essence of God, a God that lives and breathes, that loves you, that lives around you, that lives as you, and that is as you. And so it is. Amen.